see you. Look at your little... Ah! Hi! I just washed my hair, okay? I'm not greasy, I'm wet. About a month ago, I decided I was gonna make a spreadsheet based on... Oh, my freaking god. Whoa, that is a big spider. No. Ah! Okay. Oh, I could have done without that right there, you know. I don't mind if they have a fat body. I think that makes them a little cuter. It's when they got massive legs, and that was like a grain of rice on 8 scaffolding poles. What the f... Okay. Oh, okay. I'm dumping this out the front window. Oh my fucking god, okay. What the fuck? Okay. I watched a bunch of Gavin Reads It All's Emboss or Toss series, and it's the kind of video I love, and I got it into my head, of course. Huge deadlines coming up, and my immediate response to that was, I should make a spreadsheet of all the unread books that I own. That would be really cool and fun and a good use of my time. So I did that. It took a little while. I had to think about what I was counting as a book, and then I cleared through all my stuff. I got rid of a bunch of stuff. I piled all of my shit up, and I looked at it all and I was like, okay. Okay, this is... I knew it was gonna be bad, okay? Maybe I have a problem. In my defense, I think if you pile books up like that, it's gonna look bad regardless of how many there are. But it was a bit of a wake-up call. Once you've bought a book and it's been on your shelf for a while, it kind of loses the luster of a new book, and it just becomes a thing in your house that you're not really excited for. So I usually just read the books I get straight away, and I have a backlog of a bunch of books that I have no immediate plans to read, that is just like a lingering sort of source of stress in my periphery. And they are books I want to read. I went through them all, and each of them on my shelf is still there because I looked at it and I thought, no, I want to keep that. So it's not like I own a bunch of books that I don't want to read. It's just that I don't know. I made a spreadsheet. We're at 202 right now, which for someone who lives in the kind of space I do is quite impressive. So what I want to do is random number generator pick what I'm gonna read next. This has been something I've been like thinking fondly of since I started making this spreadsheet. The moment I address something I sort of in my head diagnose as an issue, I'm like, oh, how am I gonna gamify this in a way that's definitely gonna be like fun the first couple times and then just really stressful from then on, and it's not gonna be fun anymore, but I'm still gonna do it because I have problems. This has fiction and non-fiction, standard fiction and non-fiction in it, but it also has art monographs, comic books, magazines. I've got quite a lot of magazines in here because I have a magazine problem. I work at a bookshop and I put myself on like a book buying ban from work because that was why I was accumulating so many books at such a quick rate, like way faster than I could read them. The problem is I have a real magazine problem, I have a real comic problem, and those are much easier to justify because when you actually sit down, most of them take like an hour or two to read, and they look cool, so I'm like, well, I'm buying them for multiple reasons. So I've banned myself from buying cheap books at my job, and now I only buy super expensive niche shit from specialist like shops and websites, which needs to stop. So I have things like Paper Rag magazine, which is like a Patreon subscription, Sticky Fingers like publishing mail out, which is literally like a 12-page. What I'm trying to say is there's a range of shit in here, the likes of which probably shouldn't be in like a TBR spreadsheet, but I thought I want to spice it up and I want to keep it interesting. One of the entries in here is a National Geographic from October 1938 that I just found on my bookshelf upstairs. I was like, when the fuck did I get this? I'm really in the mood for fiction right now. It would be a lie to say that this was the first time I was ever using this spreadsheet because just to check that it like made sense and that it was something I was going to be interested in actually using. A week ago, I just hit the number generator and it landed on Stag Dance by Tori Peters, and I thought, oh great, I'd like to read that. That's okay, so the spreadsheet has potential. And then I put it down and I thought about it and I was like, I really want to read Stag Dance by Tori Peters, and I'm a mood reader. When I've got like a good thing going with reading, I could read just about anything and it will keep my attention all the way through. When I'm not super feeling it, it is so important to ride like a hype train. If I look at a book and I think, I want to read that, it is very imperative that I read it, or anything else is gonna just like kill my momentum. And I'm kind of in like a medium space right now, which is why this spreadsheet is so dangerous. I just read A Field Guide to Getting Lost by Rebecca Solnit, and it's a great book, but I am not in the headspace for non-fiction right now, which is why when it landed on Stag Dance by Tori Peters, I was like, it would defeat the purpose of the game to do this like without it being like a structured thing that I'm doing, but I really want to read Stag Dance, so I did, and it was really fucking good. Oh my god. At some point I will sit down and I will talk about Stag Dance by Tori Peters uninterrupted for like a half hour, but today is not that day. This is gonna be like the second time I'm using this, and I promise I reserve the right to like DNF or postpone something if I'm really not feeling it, but I vow now, whatever comes up on this spreadsheet, I will take an honest crack at. That's the best you're getting out of me. Okay. I don't want to screen record. I'm too disorganized to keep track of all the files. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 29! Okay, that's a low one. A Single Man by Christopher Isherwood. That I can get behind. Okay, let me grab it. Let me find it. One sec. I've reorganized my bookshelves for the first time in like 2 years now. I can't find shit. Oh, this is perfect. I have been, like, I've had this for like 2 years now. I really wanted to get something that I've had for ages, something I've been meaning to get for ages. I've never read any Isherwood. Win? Okay. I fuck with this. And it's short as well. It's like a classic, so it's gonna be in like prose, but it's got narrative, it's fiction, it's only like 150 pages long, and I think that includes the introduction. Oh no, it doesn't. Anyway, okay, sick. So first, we are reading A Single Man by Christopher Isherwood. I'm excited! Oh my gosh! Okay. Date you at some point. Oh, I don't know if I remember. We'll see. He's so beautiful. Listen to those seagulls. Wonder if they'll make it where they're going to. Yeah, he's coming inside. Come on. Same day, my hair's gone crazy because it dried. See, I wasn't lying about not being greasy. I'm gonna leave right now to buy 2 birthday presents before I go to dinner for someone's birthday and then karaoke, which means I'm probably gonna be out till like 11. That's okay. Anyway, I wanted to check in on the Isherwood because I'm like 20 pages in. It's one of those you really want to take your time with. So funny, and then immediately like incredibly depressing, like that. So it's a bit of a whiplash, but the kind of whiplash I'm in for. One of those that you read and it has a contemporary enough voice that then it drops a slur out of nowhere and you're like, oh, this was published in 1964. And he uses a slur for black people and a slur for Jewish people immediately, one after another, but it's within the context of him using them as an example of an offensive word. However, again, it is in the middle of like a sardonic thing about how being an old person is like stigmatized, and how being called old is akin to being called blank or blank. So is it the most tasteful use of these incredibly offensive words? Not at all. I would rather they weren't in the book, but it is of its time. And it wasn't in reference to any particular character or presence. It was just an unfortunately very blasé throwaway line. I'm sticking it through. The way it's written is very beautiful. I read the introduction when I first read it, and I used my receipt as a bookmark, so I can tell you the exact date and time I bought this book, which was 5:10 on the afternoon of the 23rd of July 2022. So that was 5 days before, I think, my 19th birthday. Because I'm like a month away from my 22nd birthday now, which is really weird to think about. This is one of the first things I ever bought at my job. Actually, it might be the first book I ever bought at my job. I think I bought Orlando by Virginia Woolf, and then I bought Christopher Isherwood. I had delusions of grandeur about being a classics reader, and I guess I'm kind of fulfilling that now. I read Orlando like last month. Full circle moment. Enjoying it so far. Jump scare that it was written in the 60s, but what can you do? I'm already like running behind schedule just in general, and like last week, no, it was a couple weeks ago now, this got caught under my bed, and in order to pull it out I had to do some weird contorting of my glasses, and it's knocked one of the little nose things askew, so that every time I put my glasses on, it puts a ridiculous amount of pressure on this side of my nose. And I've been fiddling with it, which you definitely shouldn't do, that's a bad idea, but I've been fiddling with it, and I can't get it to sit nice on my face, so I put off putting my regular glasses on for as long as humanly possible, because then I know for the rest of the day I'm just going to be going... and it's awful, and it gives me headaches. Anyway, sorry. It's it's complaint hour in my house, as it is every other hour also. Anyway, I'm gonna be reading this on the train while I go on my escapades. If I can be asked, I will give you a page count update. I can't help but read seagull calls this far inland as a sort of good omen. A reminder that there's life beyond this. Not that this is insufficient, but it's good to remember. There's storms happening out at sea as our skies are blue. I guess I sort of have transposed the idea of wild geese onto seagulls. Have a nice me. Have a nice me. Good afternoon. Ignore the mess. Sue me. It is the next day. I didn't have the energy to film a new bit. It's actually like 3 p.m. the next day. I woke up like 2 hours ago. I need to sort my sleep schedule out so bad. I got home at like 11:30 last night. So tired, my eyes were stinging, and it was taking active effort to keep them open. Still didn't sleep till like 3 in the morning. Karaoke yesterday. It was really fucking good. It was at a KBBQ place. I haven't done like proper table grill KBBQ since I was like 15 maybe? Oh my fucking god. I ate myself into a stupor. I was surprised I could move at all, let alone go down to the fucking karaoke room afterwards. I was like... One of my, I think, maternal great something grandmothers used to say, "Move I, but do not bend I," after a big meal, and that was exactly how I felt. There was a point where I was like, I'm full, and then I kept going because it was really fucking good, and also there's like a food waste charge, so we were polishing shit off. Oh. I only just ate lunch because that was the kind of eating that leaves you feeling full for like a while. But I know logically I should eat. Fine. Anyway, not important at all. I got, before bed yesterday, 57 pages into A Single Man. I'm really enjoying it. I've read the synopsis before, the blurb, but I deliberately didn't reread it when I picked this up yesterday because I wanted to go in relatively blind. And I'm pretty sure this is like across one day in this guy's life. His partner has recently passed away and he's just like so angry, but he's a very composed person, at least of, you know, public facing. He has a facade that he wants to maintain. He has like a distinct public persona of someone who's very composed. He plays sort of the perfect Englishman in this California suburb. It says on the blurb. I just like skim it. I don't know where things in California are. He drives around. He lives in this sort of picturesque suburb, and he wears like a suit and tie, which nobody else does. There's a part that actually like really struck me where he's sort of going through the motions of waking up and brushing his teeth and sitting on the toilet and like watching people across the road as he's taking a dump. But then he goes downstairs, and as he's crossing from like the staircase to the dining room, he gets hit with this wall of grief, remembering that his partner has died, and he just has to keep on plugging. And there's this constant tug of war between him trying to consciously keep up this very put together public persona and the autopilot part of him that is so consumed with grief that he just slips into kind of disassociation more and more. Just incredibly angry at the state of the world and feels very self-righteous. There's a whole bit where he's in the car and he's having this fantasy about like murdering a bunch of like, they're building a new apartment block in the view between his favourite park and the coast, and he has this fantasy as he's driving on the freeway about sending threatening messages to the people running the building project and like kidnapping their family and sending videos of them being tortured. He goes systematically through like everybody he wants to enact sort of horrendous violent vengeance upon, and it's this really honest, quite gruesome depiction of queer rage where at any stage during the day while he's performing for all these people, he just harbours this huge resentment for the fact that they're able to go about their lives more or less unscathed, as far as he's concerned, when people like Jim, his partner, are persecuted for their sexuality relentlessly, where people are allowed to perform humanity when such cruelty can be inflicted upon the vulnerable and minorities. There's a really good bit when he's doing this like violent ideation. He's like, I'm not talking about black people or Hispanic people though, by the way. They're cool. I'm not killing them. Like he just has to get in like a clarification as he's in the car. He's far from a perfect person. He's got very hoity-toity ideas about how minorities should behave and how minorities do behave. I don't think intersectionality had reached Christopher Isherwood by the time he wrote this book, okay? But it's a very, like, raw, honest portrayal of grief that is rooted in injustice. I really like it. And his way of writing is so... he's so snarky, he's so sardonic, he does all of this, he's very aware of the way social preconceptions shape the way we interact with each other, and he's very cynical about it. I like a bit of small talk, to be honest. I love knowing that in a certain place I'm supposed to say a certain thing and someone else is going to be able to bat that straight back, and it feels much easier than most candid conversation. I love being behind the till. I know someone says, oh, so many books, so little time, and I'm like, oh, tell me about it. So good. I love being behind the till and the computer's running slow and I go, oh, sorry, the till's a bit slow in the morning, and they go, oh, I know how it feels. Favourite bit of my day. Isherwood clearly does not feel the same way, and I totally get that. He is like sick to death. I guess I should say George, talking about this book, because that's the name of the narrator, but I feel like there's a lot of Isherwood in George. He just harbours such resentment for all of the social niceties that someone must necessarily participate in order to be viewed as like a functioning member of society. And I totally get that. About 57 pages in, that's just over a quarter of the way. It is. Oh wait, no, I thought this was 200 pages for some reason. It's 152. I'm less than 100 pages. I might finish this today if I can. I got a gig this evening. I'm probably going to be at the house by like 5:30, but it's 3 now. And I was like ripping through this on the train. See what progress we can make. I'm really enjoying it. I'll read more Isherwood after this probably, unless something horrible happens at the... I don't want to wish that into existence. Even if something horrible happens, I like his turn of phrase. Yippee! It is the next day. I finished A Single Man last night. My mullet tail is just tall enough to tie up so it doesn't tickle the back of my neck, but it does just look like I've got a little pom-pom on the back of my shit, and there's not a lot I can do about that, so... Anyway, woke up like an hour ago and then stayed in bed for like an hour. It's like 2 p.m. Look, I'll get my shit together at some point. Now is not the time though. This is my rot time. I'm on rot mode. And that's okay. I feel like that's okay. I just made nearly a pint of coffee. I don't know how this happens. It just expands every fucking time. And I made it in a jug so that it would cool down, so that when I added the ice wouldn't just like melt straight away. And then I was like, I should put this in a glass, but I didn't want to, so now I'm just like drinking coffee out of like a Pyrex jug. Pretty good, what can I say? That's where we're at right now. But finished A Single Man. I really liked this. Short, sweet, covers like a single day in our protagonist George's life. I have a really bad knack of guessing or approximating the big twist in books, because suddenly I'm sitting there like, why of all days would they pick this specific day to document this character's life? And I'm like, well, it could be this, it could be this, it could be oh, no, it probably is that in it. And it changed the way I read like the last 50 pages, but not in a bad way at all. I think it enriches the process of reading to sort of question the intentions of the author throughout, not just upon reflection. And occasionally that comes with working out exactly how things go just a little bit too early, and that's okay. It's still a beautiful bit of prose writing. It's a beautiful bit of character writing. Some interesting parts of this that I'm sort of going to be mulling over. The main character, George's fixation on youth, is very interesting to me. Not even necessarily in like a sexual context, though he clearly does feel an affinity for like younger men, and he's like, I don't think they ever state his specific age, but I'd say he's probably like in his 60s maybe? His best friend Charlie is described as a lot younger than him, and she is 45, so I'm guessing between 55 and 65 is the range we're looking at. And most of the men he fixates on sexually are like in their 20s by the sounds of it. Again, no specific ages are ever quantified, but he works at a college and there's like a brief moment where it looks like he might be trying to seduce one of his students, like at the final hour. Again, not a perfect protagonist by any stretch of the imagination, but there's something just very charming about him. And because we're told it from such an internal perspective, at the start of the book he doesn't even talk about himself like he's human. He's talking about himself as an it as he wakes up before he reaches full consciousness, and you're getting a very honest, very frank, very scabs and all look at his internal monologue, when by all accounts when he talks to other people they like him very much. He's a very agreeable person. It's an interesting look at someone very jaded, but also someone who's so very attached to life and living, and I love that dichotomy. I feel like working in retail puts you in mind of that, where you have like a dozen interactions with the worst person you've ever met every day, but life is beautiful. I don't know. I really liked it. I really liked this. I'm definitely gonna be in the market for reading more Isherwood. I love his narrative voice. I'm intrigued in him as a person based on the way this is written and the way the character is posed. That's probably like a 4.5 star. It wouldn't be a 5. Isherwood has the potential to write a 5-star book for me, but this was just like a good time. I'd like more plot and to see how he would handle that, and that might be a 5-star in the future. In the meantime, loved it! So, that leaves us with picking a next read. And I'm working over the weekend. I'm staying with my grandma as well, so I'm gonna be out of the house. Whatever I have to pick. I wouldn't mind actually getting like a magazine right now or a graphic novel, because I've got to be in the house for a couple hours to pick up a delivery. So I've got some time to kill. I wouldn't mind knocking out a short one real quick. Either that or something like a little bit meatier that I could get into over the weekend. I'd be open to both of those. I'm really in a fiction headspace right now. So a long non-fic could totally kill me, but again, I pledged to take an honest crack at whatever comes up. Stag Dance by Tori Peters is still in here. I don't know how to film this well. Ooh, there we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this cell, all of the cells are marked red. I'm gonna change this to green. Ooh! I'm gonna filter just the red. Yeah. So now Stag Dance is no longer on the sheet. Okay, so it still adds up to 202, which means it's filtering all of the cells in the file, even though I've removed 2 to a different... I don't know how to change that. You're just gonna have to bear with me, okay? Okay, so let's get this random number generator. Let's put it up to 202. Can you see that? I looked back at the footage from the previous one and I realized this whole thing was out of shot the whole time. Anyway, okay. 151. Let's have a friggin' look. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that's poetry. The Epic of Khadr Idris by Samatar Elmi. I'm not opposed to it. Let me have a look. Actually, let me take you along this time so you can see what we're dealing with this bookshelf. Here we are. I haven't organized any of this except... Oh, can we focus? Can we focus? Can we focus? Okay, this shelf is approximately all the stuff I have read. I think there might be some stuff integrated in the other shelves, but I can't be asked to sort it out. Oh, speaking of... Look at that! Yippee! Okay, ignore the sign. It's not dinner time yet. There we go. This shelf is approximately all the stuff I've read. This is my graphic novel shelf, which is a mix, and Gideon the Ninth, because I don't know how it doesn't fit anywhere else. Then this shelf is like unread fiction, non-fiction, as is that stack up there, as is some of the stuff up there, and then this is mostly poetry and some unread fiction also. Okay, so the Epic of Khadr Idris, I think this, yeah. Oh, it's not too long. Okay, I thought it was longer. That's great. Oh my god. Let me in. No, that's on a milk word. But I mean, thematically, probably suitable. Oh my god. Okay, this is stupid. There we go. The Epic of Khadr Idris by Samatar Elmi. I bought this at an indie bookshop because I thought it was cute. And because I've been to Khadr Idris. Let me read you this synopsis real quick. Hargeisa, Hargeisa. I'm gonna have to Google that as well. Someone says in passing, you see these houses of corrugated tin. They shrink under the sun, like shriveled skin, and because I have not been inside a tin house, I try to imagine the walls rippling, caving in. Someone says, in passing by houses, we mean sheds unfit for tools and shovels. We mean only paupers and fools would call them houses. I try to imagine the ever-so-faint sizzling, laying my kids to rest on the stone-baked ground. Someone says, in passing, I see myself in four-poster beds, marble columns, butlers and maids, 12-course meals, arrays, but you see these houses, but you see these houses, you see these houses. Okay, I'm in it. Oh wait, there's a synopsis on the back as well. That was just a sample poem, I guess. Okay. Informed by nature's cycles of life and death and the ways history is made and unmade through language, these poems interweave the vivid storytelling of hip-hop with the myths of the British Isles, holding grace and defiance in a fine balance. Okay, that sounds good! I'm assuming he's based in Wales, based on the fact that it's named after Kader Idris, and his poems have appeared in Poetry Wales. There's a subtitle, The Epic of Kader Idris, or How Not to Lose Yourself in the Hills. Ooh. Okay, this one is about 87 pages long. The poems vary in length. I'm feeling good about this. Okay. Nice. Okay, next read. The Epic of Kader Idris. Yippee! Okay, I'll check in a bit. I'm just gonna churn through this for a while, I think. Okay, so it's been like 20 minutes, okay? I'm on page 7, but pages 5 through 7, one of the poems is literally just a playlist. 3-page long playlist. One thing about me is when a book has a playlist, I'm listening to it. Unfortunately, there's not one pre-made on Spotify, and my Spotify student account is still working, so you could not catch me dead on YouTube Music listening to fucking ads between songs. So I made the playlist. It's fucking crazy. It's a wild mix of songs. A lot of this stuff I don't know, which is awesome. A lot of it is classical, ambient, Greenhouse. My favorite Greenhouse EP is in here, which is cool. There's a bunch of Earl Sweatshirt, there's Nick Drake, Bill Evans, and you're going through a My Bloody Valentine album, my favorite Grizzly Bear album, they're like 2010, I don't know if it was 2010 actually, they're like sleeper hit that sounds like taking too much Benadryl, love. And then I'm going through, I'm thinking, wow, this is a really interesting playlist. And the last 3 entries on the list, I'm really bad at situating a book in like a timeline or like understanding where it exists in context, and nothing vexes me more than reading a poetry book and the last 3 lines of like a poem entry that's a playlist are Kendrick Lamar, 616 in LA, Meet the Grahams and Euphoria. The 3 Drake disses that came before Not Like Us are in this poetry collection as the playlist. Let's just say, oh, cool, don't get me wrong. There is some other Kendrick on the list, but it's his sort of older, more like, less specifically Drake adjacent music. There's Fela Kuti in here, Eric Clapton, Joy Division, The Cure, and then like 3 Drake diss tracks. I love it. A lot of these entries are like full albums, which I'm not against, but let me see how long this playlist ended up. It's a 24 hours and 52 minutes, and there was a whole Frank Ocean album that that has been taken off Spotify, so I couldn't even add it. I'm gonna put this on shuffle and keep listening and reading, and we're gonna see what happens. I'm really liking the book so far. I'll read you, okay, literally on page 4, but I'll read you the poem because I think it's beautiful. It says, looking for flowers in winter. Tomorrow's the 14th, brown branches, brittle, bare on the blackberry bush. Buds not brave enough to break the bark, if that's what you call it, skin baked in ice. I was the last to know, being as I was besotted with how to be. In bloom, a black bluebell beating to turn towards the beams, the burning ball. All the buoyancy in a bathtub, behavior becoming a bee looking for beacons in winter. Black-eyed Susan, baby's breath, bleeding heart. Love, I'm the bird that beatifies this brick storehouse for a basket of breadcrumbs, a bed of nails, just to believe, be alive, beloved. The flavors are melting on my tongue. I put the book down on page 7 and started making a playlist, so haven't made much progress, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Okay. First thing that comes up on shuffle. Well, you can see me in the reflection. Hello. Here we are. Yoinky sploinky. I love it. Between the banks, wedged like a fallen tree, an angel. It's a footing that keeps him sentinel and sleepless, knowing a slip in the east.
Remember when they have a grand mammy on a drip train? How much of that gin string could have filled a fish tank?
Let me see if I can find one to read you. Oh, I love this one. Okay. It's a bit of a long one, but... Well, I say a long one, it's like 2 sides. Gen Z brain rot, 2 pages! Damn! Okay. This one is called On the End of the World. Nothing is out of the ordinary. Burnt toast softens with a foil scrape of butter. Lukewarm cuppa, builders, teased with futile drip drip of milk dregs. The shower, much like the weather, indecisive, fluxing between too cold and scalding. The sky an old English off-white, deathbed sheets of a fever patient. Nothing is misplaced. Books and coffee mugs cover the kitchen surface, a kettle whistles, taking its place among the tired motifs of any old morning. The wooden steps tapered by her unhurried feet, her footstep arias. Each creak and groan of old pine staccato tells me she's not running, falling, screaming. We pass with mumbled greetings. She hovers at the sink, runs water through her fingers into the glass, brings it to eye level. Looks at the sun through its prism, orange pulled apart in water. Haven't you heard? The sun has exploded. In 8 minutes, the world will end. She points to the radio, so I turn it on. It's Beethoven, not the Moonlight Sonata or the Fifth, but the Eroica. Not the Funeral March, but the Scherzo. She points to her glass like a conductor's cue before the ictus. I peep behind the curtains. Half-asleep children climb onto school buses, miss their parents waving. A cat climbs a fence. 4 minutes. Your toast will get cold. I pause before charred slabs, turn and catch the cat's eyes. Find in its golden light a likeness, fix in the metronome of its blinking. Light on, light off, light on, light off. She looks at her watch. Hurry. You'll be late for work. I dress in half-light, fetch sandwiches from the fridge, check the time, kiss her forehead, sip her water. Bye, love. Grab my wallet, my keys. Step into the street and almost miss the cats now gathered in litters on the lawn. Songbirds chirping madly. Labradors and terriers staring at the sky. Ugh. Ugh. God, this feels bad. This feels wrong. I don't feel good doing this. Ugh. Jesus. The noise. That's gonna do, I think. So I'm rinsing this off. I'm gonna. I love that poem because it could honestly be about any number of things. A running theme in this is the effect of global warming, and I suspect that's certainly part of it. But it speaks to the experience of having to work through a crisis in the macro and the micro. You could read that as a personal experience, as in experiencing a grief and just having to go on with your regular life like nothing has changed. Or you could read it on the macro, having to go through the motions while the world appears to be falling apart around us. And that there's not even a lack of beauty in the mundanity that is necessary in those rituals. There's something laconic and comforting in the idea of like foil scraped butter and the amber of the cat's eyes. There's still beauty to be found. Despite the world ending in an increasingly shortening amount of time, the speaker still stops to kiss the forehead of their presumably lover. All the animals staring at the sky, knowing what everybody else knows, but human convention requires us to keep plugging on in this absurd performance of everyday life. Like, I don't know, really good. And like, almost every poem in this collection has that kind of weight for me, and I just thought it was really great. Okay. Did some more reading, did the dishes. I'm waiting on a package, right? Because I've got to leave at about 5. It's 4:30. The delivery window they gave me was 2:30 to 5:30, so I was like, oh, I'll stay in the house. Should have just paid for express shipping. I don't think this shit's turning up till 6:45. I finished The Epic of Khadr Idris. With a poetry collection, especially one this good, you never really finish it. You're going back to it all the time. You're dipping back in. With a poetry collection, I always mark the pages of the poems that I really like and want to revisit. And I got quite a few folds in there. Beautiful, very vivid, broad collection about immigration and alienation. Samata Elmi writes England and Wales in such beautiful, vivid prose, and yet also expresses a profound alienation with the landscape that is, well, through, I mean, the people of the landscape, through the landscape, I suppose. I don't know what I'm saying. It's a beautiful collection. There are pieces in here, obviously, I can relate to more than others. His experience as a person of colour is something that I can only appreciate from the outside. But there's a little something in here for everyone. Rarely do I tag one page and then think the poem on the next page is so good that I have to I don't think I've ever dog-eared a page on the bottom for lack of corner before, which is cool. I'm gonna be revisiting this frequently in the future. Very glad I read it. Yippee! Okay. Also, the playlist is great. I was listening to Bill Evans doing the dishes, and then it switches to My Bloody Valentine. Next, we must pick another book. I've got to leave the house in like 20 minutes. If it's something short, I will take it, but I will re-roll to try and get something longer, because if I roll something short, I'm gonna read it this evening and then not have anything for the weekend. So, also bearing in mind that I'm gonna have to carry it around with me. Okay. The thought of having to carry around like an art monograph is making me say there might be a few vetoes here. Potentially. Let us mark the Khadr Idris, the Epic of Khadr Idris. Woohoo! That's another one ticked off. I have to reset the fucking filter. There will be ways of doing this in a much more sensible way, but I am not working it out right now. Give me a medium length novel, please. 62. 62. What are we gonna find at 62? Queer print in Europe. See, that is a coffee table book. 153! Wow, okay, let's find out what that one is. 153. 153. Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata. What a great choice! I'm glad we landed on that one. Let's go find it. Okay, I actually don't know where this one's gonna be. It's like a larger format because I have a proof of it. I think it might be up here. Can we see it? Oh, on the bottom of the stack. Perfect. Yes, what I would love to do right now is pull this whole stack down. Yes, yes! Got the book and my fucking package just arrived. Here's the thing. This is 220 something pages. And I know that I could chew up a Sayaka Murata book and to last me 3 days. I don't know. As like a safety net, I'm gonna re-roll. I am gonna read Vanishing World, and I'll read them one after the other. I'll read this one first, but as a backup, I'll get another one up. Okay. Oh, 157. Okay. Not waving, but that's a teeny weeny poetry collection. Okay, are we gonna do 3 in a weekend here? One more for luck. 106. John's Worth 1 is this. This is, okay, one more roll and we'll see what happens. 87. It's gonna be something fucking massive. Fuck! That's a comic! Okay, this is... Okay, I'm cutting my... Okay, I'm gonna put this on here and I'm gonna read it on Monday. I'm just gonna go with these two. This is getting ridiculous. Worst comes to worst, I'll read a Wikipedia page on Sunday, okay? God damn! So this weekend's lineup. Sayaka Murata, Not Waving But Drowning by Stevie Smith. Vanishing World. And I need to get the fuck out of here.
The neighbour did double the crab on her.
Well, of course.
Scorch! Precipice! The corn!
Got spinach. And more onions.
I think that's everything. Got leeks. Oh, we got cardboard. Got a beautiful cup of cardboard.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another... It is Saturday at 4:35 p.m. I am about, I want to say 125 pages into Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata. I have thoughts, a few of them good, to be quite honest, which is a bummer because the Murata I've read so far I've really liked. I love Convenience Store Woman. I think that book's great. I love Earthlings. For better or for worse, I do understand, even more so than Convenience Store Woman, how polarizing Earthlings is, but I thought it was great. What that says about me, I don't know. Earthlings felt like it was going in quite a radical direction, and I liked that. And I read a couple of the short stories in Life Ceremony, and I was intrigued as to what she was trying to get at. But this feels like such a major step back in a way that I wasn't expecting. The plot of this book, we follow, I want to say Amane. We follow Amane as she's living in a society in which sex has been totally phased out. People don't do it to procreate. They go the route of artificial insemination, and they rarely even do it for intimacy purposes. People rarely fall in love with real people. Most relationships are with fictional characters. I like the idea of people supplementing their real life relationships with fictional relationships, and I think it's an interesting thing to explore, especially in the wake of services like Character AI, which give voice to fictional characters in a way that becomes immediately parasocial in a really unhealthy way. But that's not what this does. It doesn't, I mean, it brings up that idea, and Amane has like 40 anime characters that she's like sincerely dedicated to, but that concept never goes anywhere. There's no analysis. I don't know. And then she still gets married. That's the thing that I'm irritated with, is that Murata has created this utopic / dystopic / sci-fi future where people have no sexual impulse anymore, or what they do have is entirely directed towards fictional characters. It's considered gross and incestuous to have relations with your spouse because that's supposed to be someone you consider family. And yet, where marriages become completely platonic and they're working on artificial wombs so that men can also give birth, why on earth is the standard still a nuclear family? And why does the protagonist of this book strive towards the nuclear family structure? In this sci-fi universe where sex has been completely outphased of human behavior, is gay marriage still not legal in Japan? It feels like she's got a very... She wants to be writing radical social theory, but queerness does not play any sort of role in this universe. There are they briefly mentioned that 2 women who wanted to get married had to move to a different country. And I don't... This feels like commentary on gender and family units and stuff that queer theory covered and built on in the 70s. It feels like she wants to do something really radical, but she is speaking from a very cis heteronormative place. I don't know, it's just not doing anything for me. Just such a disappointment. I will give it that, like, she's so easy to read. She writes in a very matter-of-fact tone, so it's not difficult to get through. I'm racing through it. I'm less than 100 pages from the end now. To be honest, I might finish it this evening. I've got some time after work, and then I'll have some free time after dinner. I could probably just churn it out. Yeah, not great, but on the plus side, it means I can put this on the to-go pile, like, straight away. And it's an outsized proof copy, so it didn't fit on any of my shelves anyway. And I don't mind investing so much time in a book I don't like if it's pretty innocuous. Like, I've got through that much in, like, a day, realistically. And I'm probably gonna finish it today. So, I don't think this is gonna be a high rating, but we'll see how the ending goes, I guess. I don't know. It is Sunday night. I just got done with work. Had dinner at my grandma's. Now I'm back in my house. It is so hot. It's just so... I'm sweating buckets. You're lucky I've turned the fan off to record this, or it'd just be... I should probably just wait till tomorrow because I'm shattered, but I feel like I just want to, like, yap for a bit because I have so many thoughts. A lot of them bad. First of all, finished this. Finished it on Saturday, as predicted. And I want to talk to Sayaka Murata about what the hell this book is. Because I think my problem with it, this is genuinely, and I wish I was joking, this is a 1-star for me. Apart from anything, because the last 10 pages are horrendous. It's like... I don't know. Spent this whole book putting faith in the author that some outcome was gonna be at the end of the tunnel. And the last 10 pages completely bulldoze any sense of the character I thought I had in a way that did not feel intentional or generative. Just felt like, oh yeah, by the way, like, she's fucking horrible. You spent 2 days reading this fucking book? Why? I don't know. I do not understand what Sayaka Murata was doing. And it's a real disappointment to me because I liked both Convenience Store Woman, not as a funny book. I find issue with people saying it's a funny book. It's a very tragic book, but it has something really interesting to say about societal structures. I really liked Earthlings. I can't really explain that one because it's so fucking, it's like out there, it's a tough sell. And when people go to buy Earthlings based on the fact that they liked Convenience Store Woman, I always give them like a heads up, like, hey, this is not the same thing. But like, I liked both of those, and this was like Convenience Store Woman if it was shit for like 220 pages, and then right at the end, I don't know, a bit of the first draft of Earthlings, where no sensitivity readers had been anywhere near it, slipped into the manuscript, and she thought, call it a twist. All through the book, the main character talks about herself, and her mother addresses her as if she is cursed to be the last person ever on earth to have sex. It's the last person to have a sexual impulse. And all the way through, you're hearing from this character's perspective, and how she feels a sort of natural instinct towards physical intimacy that nobody else seems to feel. And she requests other people to be intimate with her, and most of the time they're sort of curious and they agree to go along with it, and then afterwards they say, that wasn't for me. And she's like, that's cool. And it's not, at least from her perspective, framed in a way that is exploitative necessarily. I don't think. Maybe if I read it again, with the perspective of the end of the book, no spoilers, but what the fuck? But the only other two characters, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that she was married twice throughout the course of the book, and the first husband is mentioned very briefly because he assaults her. It's treated not as sort of intermarital abuse, it's treated as like, oh, isn't it funny that she's like gone to the police and told them that her husband's tried to have sex with her and that's the crime. It's not that she wasn't a willing participant, it's that he tried it all. And like, it's almost played for laughs in a way that I found a bit distasteful, but I was like, well, she's laying groundwork at this point. That's one other character in the book who ever expresses sexual desire. And then the third character in the book that ever does is her mother, who then more than once, I think, in the rest of the book, brings up the ex-husband who tried to assault Amane and is like, oh, I wish you'd get back with him, he at least had some passion. He like stalks her and sends her money without asking, money that she doesn't want or need. And the mum's like, isn't that romantic? He's still trying to get you back. So the main cast of characters who experience any sort of sexual desire, a sexual abuser and a sexual abuse apologist, and then Amane, the third member of this cast, at the end does something so horrible so as to taint her soul forever. Is Sayaka Murata trying to posit that sexual desire is an inherently disgusting, corrupting force? Because it doesn't read, most of the book does not read as such at all. Everybody else is treated as quite absurd for not pursuing, I don't know, sexual intimacy. Maybe I'm just reading it totally wrong, but it felt to me like Sayaka Murata herself is trying to work out how she feels about this particular scenario she's thunk up through her characters in a way that doesn't feel congruous with any of their existing established character traits. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, and then something disgusting happens at the end, and there's no trigger warning, and maybe I shouldn't have needed a trigger warning because it's a Sayaka Murata book and I've read Earthlings and a bit of Life Ceremony, and I know what she's capable of, but no, I feel like there should be some sort of disclosure, because it's really bad. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. I think it is so weak compared to the rest of her body of work that I wouldn't be surprised if it were revealed that, I don't know, she submitted the wrong manuscript. I guess this is a proof copy. Maybe this was like, I don't know, an early version, but usually the proof copies don't actually differ very much from the final versions. And if this is the version that went to print, who didn't say, like, maybe we should edit this down, maybe you don't need that weird shit at the end. The middle's really repetitive as well. They have the same conversation, the same 2 or 3 conversations about 6 times between various identical members of the extended cast. I mean, Sayaka Murata's never been one for developed characters that have much of a sense of individuality. Usually it's the protagonist who feels uniquely weird, and maybe one love interest who has some intrigue, and then the rest of the characters are drones of the regular society that the protagonist can't assimilate with. I read a review that was like, I kept feeling like I needed to check what page I was on just in case I'd forgotten to flip it and was reading the same bit again, and that's exactly how it feels. There's a few conversations that just feel copied and pasted, the exact same dialogue. So it's not like, it's not even that her writing is of her usual quality and the content is just weird. Everything about this felt really off. Bin it. I was not a fan. I mean, again, I'm speaking entirely based on my own experience. I can't say this is one I would hand sell or recommend to people, because I would feel bad about locking them into this book for the total mug off at the end. But this is my thoughts, and if you enjoyed this book, I would really, really like to talk to someone, because there are plenty of people who rated this very highly. In fact, a couple of people who I follow on Goodreads opinions I really value, rated this quite highly, and I wonder if I genuinely wonder if I missed a bit. 1 star, and 1 star is only because it feels frivolous to give it any less, to be honest. That can go, at least, I will say, that can comfortably go straight on the out pile. That is, like, I don't want nothing to do with whatever the fuck is going on in there. I feel like it feels like a cursed artifact. I want this out of my house. I might leave it on the side of the road tomorrow. Okay, my camera ran out of memory card space, which is probably good because it cut me off talking about that fucking janky ass book. Such a disappointment, honestly. But by contrast, a much nicer and more reliable read, Not Waving But Drowning by Stevie Smith. I really liked this. It's only 40 pages long. In fact, it's 39 pages actually. And it's a little, I mean, it's obviously far from her whole body of work, but it's a nice little introduction. And it's such a lovely addition. I didn't realise it's got this little crying frog on the front. And then it's the frog looking at the moon on the back. So lovely. And there's some really sweet little poems in here. Combination of, whatchamacallit, poems and illustrations, because Stevie Smith was an illustrator as well. Or certainly drew stuff. I love this one. The little drawing of two folks snogging. Captioned, "All things pass, love and mankind is grass." Talk about, excuse me, I have work to do. Talk about hello, Mary Oliver, love. Anyway, really lovely collection. I don't know much about Stevie Smith. I mainly picked this up because I vaguely recognised the name, and there were recommendations from Nick Cave and Sylvia Plath on the inside leaf, and the cover was beautiful, and it's a gorgeous little pocket edition. She lived in Palmer's Green, North London girly. I love that. She was like genuinely probably grew up like 10 minutes away from where I did, which is really, I mean, shocker. There's like 14 million people living in London now probably, but always like a nice trip. Like, oh, hey neighbour. I mean, this does the job of like a pocket introduction to a poet, because now I really want to read more of her stuff. So that was like this is like a pretty easy recommend. Definitely want to get more into it. I'm really glad I read it, and I will be keeping this because she's stunning. So that is a recap of everything I've read this weekend. Before we go on to the TBR for the following days, I want to have a little look-see at some stuff I got this weekend. Not all of which is going to be book related, because I'm just going to be indulgent here. I found this beaut on the side of the road. Fuck, she's stunning. She is gorgeous. My dad calls these bug-eyed beasts because the little radios look like a little praying mantis head. Aerial is snapped off, but we stuck a metal skewer into the hole and the radio signal started to improve. So I'm gonna try and DIY a janky aerial out of like armature wire tomorrow. See what happens. Worst comes to worst, it's got a CD player in it. I have not had a CD player since I moved into this house because I have a stereo, but the CD player on it's broken. It just doesn't read discs anymore. I was jaded enough about that because it's got the input for a record player, which I desperately need, and it has a really good cassette tape deck, which I also really need. I collect cassette tapes to the detriment of the rest of my life, but I have a pretty extensive CD collection and I just haven't played any in like 3 years. But I found this on the side of the road. I cleaned it up. The CDs do sound like shit, but they play, and that's all I really care about. So I've got my beautiful busted, oh, I've lost the lid to the battery compartment, but that's okay because the wire, I mean, it still works with the wire. Beautiful retro diva added to my collection of junk. Oh, literally in my lap. Perfect. Hold on. Let's get you decent. Oh no, there we go. Isn't she stunning? Oh, she's just so cute. I love these little radios. To celebrate, I went through all of the CDs I've been keeping at my grandma's house because I just don't have space here if I'm not going to use them. 5 kilos of CDs I get out the wazoo. Well, the other thing, I've got coming in the mail. Like some wall-mounted CD racks that look like lizards. It's like they knew I was coming. The only bit of wall space I have where they'd fit is back here. So I need to, once I get them in the post, I have no idea how big they are. I bought them on Vinted for like £8. But they each look about that big and have like 25-ish CD slots. And the slots look big enough to hold 2 discs, to be honest, so pretty epic, that's what I'm gonna say. I also want to do just a very quick, it's gonna be quick, it's not that bad, I swear, an eeny book haul. First of all, I got a proof of How to Art by Kate Bryan with illustrations by David Trigley. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I went to art school for 4 years, and that is not me saying I already know everything in this book, because I almost certainly don't, but it trains you to read and talk about art in a certain way that this is not gonna be geared to. So I feel like I'm gonna read this and feel like I'm reading another language, and I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it or if it's gonna be difficult. But things like Grayson's Art Club, which was on TV a couple of years ago, so great for advocating for the democratization of art, and I'm hoping that's what this is going to be, because it advertises itself as like an introduction to art for someone who has always felt daunted by the institution, and that I can get behind. I will be totally honest, the main reason I asked for this, asked the publishers for this, is because of the David Trigley illustrations, and I should have realised that a proof copy was going to have all the illustrations in black and white, which is a bit of a bummer, because the thing I like most about David Trigley is his bright colours, but I don't mind. So I've got that. It's a bit of a chunker. That's going on the spreadsheet. And now this one is really something special, so I'm going to need you all to be very, very impressed. I got my hands on Nutra by Yuichi Yokoyama. Now, anybody who's watched my comics video would know that Yuichi Yokoyama comics are so hard to get a hold of. I put in an order for this through the system of the shop I work at. Sent them off into the ether as a Hail Mary, because there are a few Yokoyama titles in the stock list, but they all said sold out. I just ordered them anyway, just in case, and this came in. I'm not lying, I ordered those about 6 weeks ago and this just came in. I completely forgot. And she is stunning! Oh my god. Some of these pages, the moment I got in this weekend, I got the notification that it had arrived during the week, and I sat down behind the till when I got into work, and I read the whole thing cover to cover. I love this shit. It's so beautiful. Every single page is something so... There's an essay at the start of this where the essayist is summarising a bunch of notes that Yuichi Yokoyama passed on in various interviews, and it's just collated into kind of a general work ethos, and he talks about how he intends to make art completely devoid of emotion, and he's fundamentally uninterested in the human experience. And I find that so interesting, because something about his work is just so emotive and human to me. I look at this and I just feel things. I don't know. His characters are so endearing, and the fact that he's able to make characters that are so endearing despite having no, like, real personality whatsoever. Their personality is conveyed entirely in the way they dress, and he dresses his characters so flamboyantly. Yuichi Yokoyama is very quickly, like, coming to a very special place in, like, my heart and my experience and the way I kind of navigate the world, and it is so cool to have this, and it's like so wonderful to have a coloured Yokoyama comic, because most of the stuff I've read of his has been all black and white illustration. I actually got a copy of Baby Boom by Yokoyama from Gosh Comics last week. It's on my shelf. I just can't be asked to go get it, because I'm in my fucking boxer shorts, alright, and if I stand up you see my cheeks, and I don't want, and it's too hot to move, really, so I'm not going to show you. You're just going to take my word for it. I'll put like a PNG of the cover, and I'm really excited to tuck into that one. I just read this one straight away, so this can go straight onto the red shelf without even touching the TBR list, but I love Yokoyama so much, and I'm so happy that I own this, and like I got it I even got it at a discount because I got it through work, so everything, life is so beautiful. So that's my sort of guilty but not really book haul. I think that's all I really have to share in terms of stuff I've acquired this weekend. The CDs, the books, CDs nuts. I wanted to talk about TBR in this coming week because if you count Stag Dance, and I'm going to for me, but I haven't really talked about it in this video at all, so you can count it or not. You got Stag Dance, A Single Man, The Epic of Kader Idris, Vanishing World, and Not Waving But Drowning. Honestly, 5 is pretty good, but one of those was a 40-page poetry anthology. One of those was like a 90-page poetry anthology. One of those I read off camera. It feels like a little bit of a cop-out. So I'm thinking about where to go from there. And I want to talk about the books that I rolled and then re-rolled before the weekend. I did put them to one side. It's an interesting selection. And that's the thing is, that's exactly why I wanted to do this challenge, is because I own so many oddball books that I'm just never going to get round to because I don't even know what context in which to read them. And I feel like manufacturing a context in which to read them, i.e. rolling them in an arbitrary TBR game, is probably the best chance they're gonna get at getting read. So, I want to talk briefly about the comics that I rolled, because I think with both Johnsworth and Fuff, I landed on one in the series, but I listed all of the books in each series that I own and haven't read, which is all of them. I've not started either collection, with the idea that if I rolled any of them, I was going to read them in chronological order. So I don't remember which Fuff and which Johnsworth I landed on, but with Johnsworth, I own volumes 1 through 3. There is a volume 4. I got these on discount for like a few pounds each, and the 4th one was sold out, so I guess I'll never know the end of the series. But these are like pamphlet comics. This light is gonna be, I'm literally holding this over a candle, this feels so dangerous. His name is John something, I can tell you that much, but the way these are printed, Breakdown is like an indie press. Writ and drawn by John Chandler. I don't know anything about them, I just, to be honest, I was buying a different book on the Breakdown Press website, and I needed to get over the shipping threshold, and these were on sale and they looked interesting, and I'm glad I have them, don't get me wrong, but they weren't necessarily, I didn't look into it before I bought them, let's put it that way. Even so, they look really interesting. I'm really intrigued to get involved. So I would be starting on Johnsworth 1. I wonder though, because these are each like, I don't think these are going to be much longer than 20 pages. 20 to 30 pages each. And it's like 3 or 4 panels, comic panels per page. I might just read all 3 in one go. It wouldn't take very long. I'd be able to tick 3 off the list. The thing about a comic is that it doesn't feel like a done and dusted thing after I've read them. It feels like something I suddenly know the content of and then can go and revisit whenever I feel like it. So I think I'm gonna read the first one and I'm gonna be like, oh, I wanna read the rest, and then I'm gonna read the rest. So I've got those 3 put aside at the moment. The other collection is a different story because this is the Jeffrey Lewis Complete Fuff Comics collection, which is, I think, 12 volumes? This also came with one called 1999 Key West as an exclusive, but I'm not counting that in the original series. I've listed that as a different thing on the spreadsheet. This booklet contains all of the comics 1 through 12, but these, let me see if I can pull one out without destroying everything. This is Fuff number 1. This is like a for real old school style printed comic book. I love these so much. I'm so excited to get into it. But these are super dense. These comic pages, I'm being really careful with this candle, but like these comic panels are super dense, super wordy. I feel like it's probably going to be good for me to read these one at a time and take breaks in between. Oh my fucking god, there's like a research paper at the back of this thing. These are usually like 24 to 32 pages, I would say. Yeah, this one's 24 pages long, but they are very dense pages. So this one, I probably will just read volume 1. So we have Johnsworth 1 through 3 and Fuff number 1. The reason I'm pulling these now is tomorrow is gonna be in the 30s temperature wise, and I am going on holiday to the seaside on Tuesday through Friday. So I think I can churn out these super short ones tomorrow. I reformatted the spreadsheet over the weekend as well because I had a spare moment and I was bored. The thing about like finishing the Sayaka Murata on Saturday is then I spent Sunday bored and depressed because that book was so bad. I was like formatting an Excel spreadsheet for fun. That ain't me. The other one I rolled on Friday was Queer Print in Europe. Now this is like a textbook monograph. I actually thought, this is actually wordier than I thought. I went and got this from the upstairs bookshelf earlier. I thought this was going to be one where there were a few essays at the beginning of the book and then it was just going to be prints. But this is text. This is text all the way down. This is like a textbook, which I maybe should have realised before I bought it, but I got it on clearance. In my heart of hearts, I really want to be like, and I'm gonna do it all diligently in order, because the whole point of this exercise is to read the books that are too inconvenient to otherwise read. Like, I do really want to know about queer print in Europe, but carrying this around, it feels like a death sentence. Like, I'm going on holiday, I can't really... This is not the kind of book I'm going to be able to cram in a day. This is more like the kind of thing I should be reading 10 pages at a time before bed, and I get it done in like a month, maybe. So, even though it's the whole point of the whole thing is reading the inconvenient books that I just have been ignoring for ages, I think this is just going to go back into rotation. I'm going to put it back on the shelf upstairs. But that means tomorrow I have lined up Johnsworth. In fact, I might get started on this before bed tonight, and I'll see how far I get. And then I've got Fuff, and then I'm going to start rolling. That is my plan. I need to open the window, I need to get the fan on, I need to go to bed, so I'm going to stop yapping at you. Tomorrow, I think I have the house to myself because my housemate's leaving early. Might just put on a CD and like make breakfast in the kitchen with the radio on. I haven't done that in so long. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see what progress that can be made here. I'm excited to show you the spreadsheet as well. I did like 5 minutes of Googling and suddenly it like functions. Crazy how if you Google how to make a spreadsheet, you can work it out. I need to go to bed. I feel like shit. Oh my god. Oh my god.
There's no road, the white lines on the freeway. Chasing sunrise now, and I'm off those places to see them.
I really want Furry Sings the Blues. Oh! Ready for this? Old Bill Street is coming down. Old Furry sings the blues. Point the bony finger at you and says, I don't like you. And everybody laughs as if it's the old man's standard joke. But it's true, we're only welcome for our drink and smoke. Why should I expect that old girl to give it to me? Not wanting to be manly. I kept my fool in my child. Everyone, just at this point of the world. You know it never has been easy. Well, I did myself, yeah. Cheek is so disgustingly hot. I'm not gonna be able to do this for long because with the door shut and all the windows and the fan off, it is... All that's on my to-do list today is pack, buy toilet paper, book a haircut. But the thought of having to go to the shop is like making me feel ill. I don't want to go outside. I have been chipping away at some stuff. Last night, I in fact did read the full John's Worth collection. I wish I had number 4. I'm pretty sure it's a run of 4 comics, and I feel like without part 4, I don't know that part 4 would clarify much in particular, but I do feel like I'm missing a crucial part of the puzzle. It's an interesting comic. I really like the art style. There's like a very scratchy quality to the line work. Like, it feels like the artist was jittering his hand the whole way through. This follows a guy called John who goes for a job that turns out to be a kind of illegal scheme where people are shipping these things called SPEX or specs units. They're just like driving them from one place to another. The guy he's working with is like, oh, you want to have a go on one of these? And the guy's like, no, I've heard it's like doing crack. And the guy's like, nah, live a little, Johnny, have a go on one of these. And then he opens it up and it's like a fleshlight kind of, except this horrible creature comes out of it and climbs up your nose. Genuinely have no clue what this is supposed to be, if it's supposed to be an analogy. I'm assuming these people live in some sort of dystopia because they're just like going through the desert, like hooked onto these weird little like parasite things. I think the art's cool, but also there's 2 female characters throughout these 3 comics, and both of them are drawn in such a way. I don't know, has the author ever spoken to a woman like she was a real human being? Both of the characters are sort of sexual objects. They both wear shirts with no bras, so their nipples are just like headlights. And you're reading it and you're like, I want to get invested in whatever weird shit is going on here, but I don't think this guy would be nice to me if I met him in real life. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't know, I am always, it's why so many traditional comics in like comic book spaces I just don't vibe with, because you read it and you're like, I think the guy who made this was a misogynist. He might not be outwardly misogynistic, but it's very telling the way these characters are depicted. If I pull up number 3, these 2 dudes are in the middle of a fight, right? And the girl that's with them is standing in a doorway like this. I paid like a $5 for the full 3. I'm not too mad about it. I'm gonna keep them because I like the way they're drawn. I like the panel format. Some of these panels are beautiful. Let me find the landscape in the first one. Like, that's beautiful. Some of this is really cool. It's just any time a woman appears on the panel, you're kind of like, There'll be something I revisit to flick through. I probably wouldn't read them all the way through again. If I can get a hold of number 4, then I will finish the series, and maybe that will provide a bit more clarity, I don't know. Second of all, this morning, read Fuff. This was fucking great. I love this. Most of this, there's a couple of little vignette comics that I thought were really great. He's just so witty. His style is very evocative of old school comics, but his visual kind of approach is distinct enough that you look at a panel and you're like, yeah, that's a Jeffrey Lewis comic. But most of this is like a travelogue of him going to London and touring a bunch of anarchist squats and book fairs and food co-ops. And it's just like, I don't know, I'm too much of a neurotic to get to like jump into DIY spaces where I don't necessarily know anyone already, even though I would like, it's the kind of thing I really want to get involved in, that kind of community action, kind of living vicariously through Jeffrey Lewis, who just manages to kind of lead a charmed existence as he's like sleeping on park benches and shit. I don't know, really beautiful. There's a segment at the end which is like an annotated discography of his project, The History of the Development of Punk on the Lower East Side, 1950 to 1975, for which there is a digital download, because I think it's in song format. And this is literally just like him writing his thoughts on a bunch of albums. I haven't read it all the way through. I've read a couple of the album summaries, and I will get into that in more detail at some point. But it's the kind of thing I'd like to maybe read one installment at a time and then listen to the album to see what I think. But to be honest, this has got me really excited to read the rest of Fuff. I love this kind of vignette comic. The thing I like so much about Jeffrey Lewis's music is his complete, like, honesty. He works without pretension, and his work is very, very approachable. And this, even though it's very accomplished and really detailed and very dense, is so fun to read, so immediately engaging. I'm so glad I have these. It was worth paying the stupid shipping. That is a summary of the stuff I've read last night and today. I got one more thing, because I just got the next Sticky Fingers mail out, and I thought maybe we could do a little unboxing. So, we got, I won't show you the address on the front, but it's in a very nice, it's got a very nice yellow label with their logo on it. Let's have a look. Oh, this is saucy. A lot of the time the outside pages, these aren't bound or anything like that. It's like an A4 magazine format where each of the pages is printed double-sided on a sheet of A3. But there's no binding, so you can pull them out. And usually the cover image folds out into a sort of poster, which is very cool. So let's have a look. You get a little introduction, then a summary of all the events that they're going to be involved in over the next month. Yeah, these are usually 12 pages long, so it's 3 double-sided sheets of A3. Ooh, that's cool. And it's just like a little keeping up with what Sticky Fingers is involved with, and little like lit features. If you are queer, if you are based in London, if you're interested in indie press, or you just love a little publication, would highly recommend Sticky Fingers. This is like a $5 a month. I think you can choose to pay $8, but I'm kind of broke at the moment, so I'm on the lower payment option, sorry. I like to read the events pages just in case anything particularly accessible or interesting is on there, and then I'm gonna put it in the stack of mail-outs that I have yet to catch up with. So that's another one to go on the TBR list. Speaking of the TBR list, let me work out how to do like a screen recording on my laptop, because I want to give you a proper tour of the spreadsheet. One sec. Okay, I relocated to the couch because there's a guy standing on my garden wall doing maintenance on the vents for the restaurant next door. So I was just sitting looking at some dude's feet and the room was boiling. I was like, there's enough wrong happening here that I don't feel bad just skedaddling. I'm just gonna sit on the couch and do this. Here is the updated TBR. Now, as you can see, I've made some changes. I worked out how to make tables. That was a big moment for me. I've separated the read from the unread, which means that the read, the books that I've read won't affect the total number on the TBR. I've color-coded the TBR so that each color represents like a different genre. I went for shades of red because I still think red is like a good no versus yes. No, I haven't read, yes I have read indicator. This kind of slightly pale red means fiction. This slightly darker red means non-fiction. This middle shade red means poetry. This lighter, almost kind of dusty pink is graphic novel. These dark red mean art monograph. They're color-coded, which means most of the time I just want to hit shuffle on this. It's currently organized alphabetically by author, but if I were to click this little filter button on the stat, I could sort by color. If I only wanted fiction to show up, I could do this, and this is all of the fiction on the list at the top, so I could random number generate from 2 to 46 instead of just re-rolling until I hit a fiction book. I don't want to do that all the time, but for things like travel, where I like can't afford to hit like an art monograph, what I could do is sort by colour and then put the darkest red at the top, and then I could sort all the others, which would then appear at the top, which would make all of the colours that aren't the darkest red appear above the darkest red, so then I could sort from 2 to 171 and wouldn't risk hitting any of these big chunky ones. That's how we've organised it so far. I'm sure there are better ways of doing it, but I don't know them, so here's what we're gonna do. We can update the list now. I've got all of the books that were on the TBR that I've then read in its separate little chart. I've put Vanishing World in already because I was updating this yesterday. What have we done since? We've done Fuff. I'm gonna cut that and then paste it in there. I'm gonna recolor this to green. Okay, so that's Fuff number 1. Then we can delete the row. What else have we got? We got John's Worth 1 through 3. Oh shit. We're gonna cut that. We're gonna paste them in there. We're gonna color those green. There's probably a way of saying, like, if this row appears in this chart, it has to be colored green. I don't know. I'm not a nerd, okay? I don't do this shit. Okay, we're gonna get rid of those. Oh, Stevie Smith, Not Waving But Drowning. Let's go to the poetry section that we've organised here. It's gonna be this bit. Where is she? There she is. Let's pop her in here and colour that one green. And then let's go back to the big gap that's gonna have left. And let's delete the row. Addressing the slightly lower number on the chart. I made the spreadsheet before I did my last clear out, and then I forgot to remove a bunch of stuff. And of course, the stuff I'd already read was being counted in the total number because I was filtering the sheet without changing the cell count. I don't know. So, our current total stands at 181. That sounds like I've made just a ludicrous amount of progress in like a week, but what we've actually managed to get out is 1, 2, 3, 4. I should just count on this side. We've got 9 books in the red stack, which is great. I'm really happy with that. We're making like actual really good progress. Now I have a bit more sitting at home to do today, so I think I'm gonna roll one more time, but I think that's gonna be it for this installment. Without the random number generator, I'm gonna pick out some stuff to read on holiday, which might be its own separate little vlog, I don't know yet. Minimum 2, maximum 181. Whatever I roll, I'm kind of gunning for some kind of art monograph, because I could probably read some of that just sitting at home today, which is the only place I'm ever reading those art monographs, because I don't want to leave the house with a book this big. 3, 2, 1. 51. The Metamorphosis. Okay, I put this on the list even though I've read The Metamorphosis because I haven't read the other short stories in that collection, and I actually don't know how many there are, so let me grab this. Because I've read quite a few Franz Kafka short stories, to be honest. Oh, this is a lot of short stories. Oh, I feel bad just reshuffling straight away, but I don't know if I can stomach this right now. Okay. Again, literally going against the whole point of the thing, but I think I'm gonna shuffle. I'm gonna shuffle another one. I might bring that with me on holiday, see how it goes. I'm gonna take another number. Okay, pretend that didn't happen. Okay. 167. Oh, that's a magazine. I could read that. Let me grab it because it's a cool looking one as well. I landed on mistake number 2, but I'm gonna get number 1. You know how this works. This is mistakes number 1 and 2. These just look really cool. I bought these from an indie press that's based in Glasgow. I think they're just like an indie bookshop as well. And this is like another big format comic. I've got a lot of sitting around to do. I might just read both of these in one go. I'm reading a lot of like little magazines and publications today, which I can't say I'm mad about. They're like my favorite thing, so I feel like I should be doing like chores and shit, but I just don't want to. I might just sit up in front of the couch with a fan in front of me and churn through at least one of these, and then I'll check in depending on how much of the day is left by the time I've read these, because I really don't know how long they're going to take. I'm not 100% sure what's in here, apart from comics. We may get one more roll in and see where it goes, okay? Let's give it a go, okay? Let's talk Mistake. I read the first one, then I realized I hadn't had lunch and it was like 2:30, so I took a break to watch some YouTube and stare into space while I ate a vegetable samosa. Then I got back into volume 2 of Mistake, but I've been taking it very easy. It's like 32 degrees out. I don't want to hear smack talk from anyone who's not in the UK, especially London. Something about London is like living in a fucking dome with a microwave running with the door open constantly. This city feels like it's murdering you just as you sit in one spot. I'm so used to waking up past noon and then not really doing anything until 3 that 3 p.m. comes around, and if I've done like more than one thing in the day, I'm like quite impressed with myself. The days felt like it's gone by quite slowly, but I've had plenty to keep me busy. For example, let's talk about these for sure. I really liked these. I think with any sort of anthology publication, there's going to be hits and misses, but this skews pretty heavily towards the hits. The main body of each of these, they take up at least half of the magazine, is the Pigeon comics. I don't know if this Pigeon series has like a particular name. This one's just called Cowboy Pigeon in the 10-Gallon Canyon. And this follows a pigeon as a hat is glued to his head. I don't know if the hat being glued to his head triggers some sort of extra sentience in him, or he had the sentience previously and the hat just makes him feel like a different person, but he goes through this little identity crisis, trying to work out what his life means and what purpose he serves. There's a whole thing where it's like, where he's wearing little costumes that represent who he could be. He is a general nuisance while having philosophical thinks. I think he briefly maybe becomes a cop, and then he's flying in the sky, and suddenly the glue that was used to attach his hat seeps into his brain and kills him mid-flight, and he plummets to the ground and dies, and that's the end of this sort of vignette comic. It says to be continued at the end, but the beautiful thing about using pigeons as protagonists is that you can't tell if they're all different pigeons or if it's the same pigeon doing a bunch of shit. Then we get some poetry by Bella Kochkarova, and we get some little mini comics. The other sort of serialized bit, there's some poetry by the same poet in the volume 2 as well, but the other thing that's serialized in here is story called The Last Way Out of the West by Josh Wrighton, and there's 2 chapters in here which they cover 3 pages of the magazine that follow an old man who used to be a notorious bandit, but he's kind of at the end of his rope. He's dead broke and losing his memory, and he's just living out of motels when a new wave bandit comes and asks him, well, demands to know where this old man kept his stash. And he apparently famously committed a big heist and hid the spoils of this heist somewhere that nobody's ever been able to find it. But he doesn't even remember where it's hidden because he's old. But obviously the people holding him at gunpoint think that he's lying to get out of showing them the treasure. But he's like, naturally I had someone else hide it so that I wouldn't know where it was, so people like you couldn't hold me at gunpoint over it. But they basically say, we're gonna fucking kill you, and he's like, sure, whatever. That's the story we get in volume 1. And the last thing in here is a segment called Songs from Palestine, which is a really beautiful discussion of how the erasure of culture is an element in genocide, and they provide a little playlist of Palestinian music for readers to look at so that Palestinian culture can be perpetuated and preserved. I will put a screenshot and I'll put the playlist up on the screen so anybody who might have for some reason watched this video to this point can check them out. That is volume 1 of Mistake. I'm calling it Mistake even though it's spelled without the I and the A. Mistake. Volume 2. The pigeon comic in this one is about dreams, and I'm gonna give you my approximation of the plot because it's written with a lot of metaphorical language that I kind of bounce off of. But from what I understand, there are 2 styles of panels. There's the one with the swirlies in the background, and there's the ones that are in like dense full colour. The ones in dense full colour are a pigeon who is navigating the city at night and he's awake. And the ones with the swirly backgrounds that are otherwise black and white is a pigeon who is having a sort of hallucinogenic dream. You get kind of constant switches between sort of real life and then dream and then real life. But the kind of point is that dreams are as absurd as regular life. Or at least I assume that's what the point was, until there's this terrifying like crossover bit where Tobias, the dreaming pigeon, runs into this one. This one is Tobias, and this one is Goodwin, from what I understand. And Tobias suddenly appears in the real life conscience of Goodwin. I'm kind of assuming that Goodwin is like hallucinating because he's so tired, because he hasn't slept. There's a whole bit where like an old man is like, if I ever catch you sleeping, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And Goodwin's like, ah! It might be a clash of hallucinations or something like that. The last pages are just kind of a combination where things are swelling in. Do I understand what's going on? Not really, but I think it's really cool, so I like that. This edition has some paintings and art, another poem by Bella Kotrokova. Yeah, some beautiful graphite illustrations, a collage. There was like an open call for illustration submissions, which is very cool. Then 3 more chapters of The Last Way Out of the West, which was kind of the bit I was most excited for. In this, our protagonist holds his landlady at gunpoint to say that he's not paying the rest of his of the fee for his stay because he's cutting it short. Then he decides to get the train. Even though he's being kind of forced into this quest to find his haul, he's kind of excited to just be doing stuff, and he's suddenly going through the motions and revisiting his fractured past and realizing that he's actually not as old and useless as he thought he was, and he still has the strength to lift heavy things even though he hasn't dared try for a while. I just really like it. I want to read more of this. I might look up Josh Wrighton to see if he has anything published with like small presses. So, big fan of The Last Way Out of the West. The last section in this is probably the only actual miss, unfortunately. This is Columbo in playback, and the font. It is simply a matter of the font. It is just so small that my eyes cannot find the next line on the page. So I got like this far into this main paragraph and it took minutes, and I reread the same lines several times and I thought, I think this might be just a summary of a Columbo episode, or someone writing their own Columbo episode or something like that, or maybe I'm misremembering something as Columbo and this is like someone's OC, I don't know, old school TV screenwrite. I couldn't get into it. So this page was a miss. The rest of it, great. There's a games panel at the end where you have to arrange all of the, like a bunch of fridges on a kitchen floor plan of a McDonald's. And there's 7 chefs you have to fit into that space with a caption, "One chef has a broken clavicle. Is he alright to work?" I don't know, it's great. There's one in here that's like a crazy maze and it's so small my eyes can't even tell what is going on. I just think that's hilarious. So I was a big fan of these. I want to get more of them. There was supposed to be a number 3 in the winter of 2025, so like the start of the year, because these are both from 2024, but I didn't see it on the website I bought these on, so I'm gonna shelve these. I'll be right back. We've got Mistakes 1 and 2 here. I've read them both. I liked them very much. We're gonna paste those into there, and we're gonna fill them green. Oops, shit. There we go. And let's go down to where they were. Where would those have been? Yep, down here. Delete selected rows. Nice! Alrighty, that brings our total on the TBR down to 179. And it brings our red up to 12. Holy shit. Okay, that's great. Like, I could not... We're doing really good. Let's go over to the bookshelf and you can see how everything's being like organized. We got Vanishing World on my out pile. We got the Epic of Kader Idris. Oh, I'm gonna have to, Jesus. I'm gonna have to take that out. And while I'm here, I might as well grab Not Waving But Drowning. And we have the 3 Johnsworth and Fluff, which I think is on the side of here. Yeah. So in terms of page count, not huge, but in terms of variety, we've got quite the selection here. Let me like reorganize these. I totally fucking forgot I read A Single Man as well. Put that on the stack. I really liked this one as well. This is like a runner-up for like my faves. I've read a bit more into Christopher Isherwood since I read this, and I was like, maybe, okay. I gotta ease up on like praising Christopher Isherwood as like a problematic king, because I think maybe he was just hot, a bit of a nasty bloke, but I still like the book. So yeah, that one as well, that one on the stack. Yeah, that's a decent stack. It's quite a height, and it's certainly a bunch of stuff I've had sitting on my shelves and around my room for ages that I knew weren't going to take a super long time to read, but I just hadn't had the onus to pick up yet. I think favourites are tied between the Epic of Kader Idris, which was just beautiful, and Fluff, which, apart from anything, has just got me really excited to read the rest of this series. It's not a difficult guess as to what the least favourite was. Sayaka Murata, what the fuck was that? I'm billing you for every person who asks me for therapy money after I talk to them about this book in perpetuity. That's on the out pile, but I'm keeping everything else, and I'm not even mad about it. It's at least a relief that the one that is on the scrap pile from this selection is the biggest, and the rest of these have nice little nooks to slot into. These are all going straight on my graphic novels and small publications shelf. These already had homes on my poetry, so this guy can go. The rest of these back on the shelves. Yippee! I also wanted to talk quickly just before I sign off, because I think I'm going to cut it off there. I want to pick out some books for holiday, and I think the spreadsheet's just going to make me feel evil if I do it like that, so that's going to be it. But I wanted to talk a bit more about my reasoning behind doing this, and I don't know, I think there is definitely an argument to be made, a huge argument to be made. I have huge issues with the consumerism of the current culture in book spaces, but I remember I watched a Carrie Can Read video a while ago about like book unpopular opinions, and she was talking about how she found it upsetting when people claimed that it was bad to have a physical TBR. I was like, where's that come from? Yeah, I don't know if it's like that video that's like, kid dies from viral challenge. Oh, that's terrible. He died from doing the eat your own shit smoothie challenge, which is a viral challenge on TikTok. Who, what?
Heartbreaking news, his parents found their teen passed away this morning in his room.
That's sad.
Reports say the teen passed away after doing the drink your own shit smoothie after inhaling a rhino's nutsack challenge, which is a viral challenge on TikTok.
Who the fuck is doing that?
That's exactly how I felt, where I was like, I've grown up with book people. Both of my parents are book people. My grandma was an English teacher, like an English literature teacher, so I've always been in houses that have thousands of books in them. I think that is almost because I have hoarding in my bloodline. I'm very paranoid about owning too many things, and I'm kind of always geared to optimization in a way that is not particularly productive. So I think I almost go too far in the other direction, where I'm constantly thinking I've got too much stuff, I've got too much stuff. And this shelf, the books pretty much stop there. Those are the books. I've got a shelf of books upstairs, and I've got a couple of small stacks around my room. It's like, compared at least to the spaces I grew up in, it's not actually that much. And I don't want it to come across like I'm punishing myself for having too much, because I actually don't think I have too much. I just think I'm a person who likes to feel like all of the things I own are useful. Not useful, but are in use and that I'm engaging with. And I don't like having hundreds and hundreds of books around that I have no intention of reading. I've had some of these books for years now, and it's important to me to feel like they're here to enrich my life. I'm very prone to just kind of ignoring something if it doesn't hold any immediate intrigue, which is most things, and instead just buying stuff, which I don't want to keep engaging in. I get a lot of my books for free, which also puts me at risk of like over acquiring, I guess you could say. I think a lot of like larger book creators have a lot of books, and I think that's totally fine. I think so what I'm trying to say is I'm doing a kind of TBR tackle style thing because I feel like I'm a bit overextended in terms of my book collection. I'd like to get my like physical TBR down to something like 30 or 40. I'm not someone who's gonna like only buy books and then read them straight away. I like having a little selection, but right now I feel daunted, which is not how I want to feel. That's not to say that I think it's bad to have a lot of books that you've never read, books that you know realistically you don't even have time to read. I think that's totally fine. My mum's never gonna read all the books she owns, but I love being in her house because it feels like I'm surrounded by someone's library. If I had like a larger living space, I would totally own more books than I do right now, and I would feel way less about the amount of books I own. But I think living in like a house share where I know like this affects other people, like our shoe rack is in front of this bookshelf, and if my shit is spilling off the shelves, then it makes it more difficult for people to get their coats and shoes. I'm very conscious of the way that like my stuff encroaches in space, so this makes sense for me. Please do not take it as like I would sneer at the amount of stuff in your house if I went to your house, because I would quite the opposite. I love snooping on people's shelves, and I learned the more the better. It's great. That's my thoughts on the TBR. If you shit on people, I don't really think big TBRs are something inherently consumerist. I think some people just like acquiring a lot of books, and to be honest, most of the people I know who own a lot of books thrift a lot of books or swap books with people. There's a good handful of the books on my shelf that are just things that my friends have given me after they've finished reading them and they think I would like it. I've been wary of my consumerist habits in the past, but I actually don't think I've ever been very bad about that with books. I don't remember the last time I bought like a mass market paperback brand new. Most of my stuff is either free stuff that was just gonna be there anyway, or charity shop finds. Most of the stuff I buy is from charity shops, so. I'm also not saying don't be wary of how consumerism is shaping your book habits, but I'm trying to say it's not that deep. I don't know. I worry about being misconstrued, and I want to make sure that like the public know that I'm not trying to dictate anybody's like personal habits. This is just like a bit of fun for me that means I actually read the books that I already have, which I want to do. So yeah, I think that's it. I never know how to round stuff out. Thank you if you have watched this. Why? Thank you. And I'm joking. I appreciate you. Comment down below your cranial measurements. I just want to know. I think that would be kind of cool. And maybe try and type out like your favorite sound effect. If someone can type out that noise that goes, I'll reply asking for your home address. I'm so hot. And I still haven't bought any toilet paper, and I still haven't booked a haircut. and I've still not packed for the trip. I haven't done any of the 3 single, quite easy tasks I had scheduled for today. But it's only like 5 PM, so I got time. Anyway, thank you for watching.